feel like breaking generational curses for me is surviving trauma. Hey guys, welcome back to Raw Reflections with Steph, where we talk about any and everything. Nothing is off limits. I'm super excited to be back, y'all, because I can give you guys diverse content under our new name. And I just want to let y'all know the crime stories aren't stopping. So if you have a case, let me know down below because the storytelling will continue. I wanted to focus on today's episode discussing breaking generational curses. I feel like discussing crime cases and my fit journey, you got to see a little bit about me, right? But I never actually done a sit down video to discuss my life, who I am, and why I am the way that I am. Breaking generational curses is something that we hear all the time. We hear about let's break the curse, but what exactly does that look like for you? And I feel like in order to share my journey, I would love to discuss how I overcame a lot in my life, things I had to heal from, things that shaped who I am. And hopefully we don't cry because breaking generational curses is painful. It's releasing the old you to step into the new you. And for me, that has always looked like wild and chaotic. I grew up in a cycle of chaos is what I always say to people when they hear my story. People always say, Steph, I would have never thought you'd have went through any of these things. And I'm like, yeah. I heard something on TikTok most recently where someone said, being strong is traumatizing. She said, you know how you go through something, but then the next day it's like you get up and act like nothing has occurred? That's what being strong is. Being strong is so traumatizing that every day you have to find that inner strength to keep going. You can't make excuses. You can't rely on other people to come in and save you because you never had anyone to come and save you in your entire existence. I feel like breaking generational curses for me is surviving trauma. It's surviving physical and mental abuse. It's breaking the habits to not become like my mother. And I love my mother, right? She's deceased, but I would not want to be anything like her. But also, breaking generational curses is also realizing that your parents are also human and the things that they went through, right? There's a lot that I did not know about my mother and my father too, because my father had me older in life. But we're going to get into all of that. So let's take it back to the beginning. So I was born on November 23rd, 1990. I'm a Sagittarius. And I know people don't like to discuss horoscopes, but I feel like I amplify what a Sagittarius is, meaning the bold, the brave, the beautiful. I'm very passionate. I'm a crybaby too, so don't get it twisted. But I feel like being a crybaby is because I have healed. I used to be so tough that I would not cry. You would come around me and you would be crying and I would dead look at you like what you crying for? Because as I said previously, being strong is all I've known how to be. So I come from a very big family. My father had me later in life. I'm thankful he had me though, but my father had me in his 50s, early 50s. I am the second oldest out of my mama and daddy's set. I have over 22 siblings. Yes, you heard that right. My father had a lot of kids and my mama had a lot of kids. I grew up in a very big family. My mom and dad had, let me count it out, child. So it's my sister, it's me, my brother, and my baby sister. So it's four of us from my mom and dad. But it was technically five but my mother had a stillbirth before she had my older sister. So I'm considered in the middle. And I think that, so coming from a big family, but also having my own set of siblings, has not always been easy because when I was young, my mother was in and out of prison. I've had some photos, but I don't have a lot of photos of my childhood. I wish I did. I am very envious of others who have photos of them being a little kid. I have only a select few. And being as though both of my parents are deceased, it's so heartbreaking because I don't have photos of us. So make sure you take pictures with your family. So my father had to raise us by himself and his other baby mamas. Because again, my dad had us later in life. He already had grown adult children by the time we came. We are his last sets of kids. And he did the best that he could. I think that under the circumstances of having my mom, but it was a relationship where and I always say this because I have grown and I'm an adult in my own marriage. I think that my dad finally reaped what he sowed because he would create all of these different homes and having all these children, and you cannot be a father in multiple homes. Yes, you can be a dad, but you cannot be a father in multiple homes when your children really need you. So when it came to us, I feel like he reaped what he sowed in karma with our mother because he was always the one that left. And when our mother got with him, it was a thing of she self-sabotaged because my mother had a lot of issues that I didn't really know until later on in life. I didn't really have a relationship with my mother until I was an adult. So let's just say that. And I think that when my mom met my father, it was one of those things like it's a too good to be true type of thing because you meet this man, he's whining, he's dining you, then you have his babies, and then you still out here trying to go back to your past life, but God is trying to move you into your new life, and she just wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. She ended up cheating on my daddy. So I have another baby brother after my baby sister that's by a different man, and crazy. And he will play a significant part in this too of breaking generational curses. Ciao. So buckle up. I will say the hardest part about breaking generational curses is not falling into dysfunction because that's what I was raised in, dysfunction. And that's what it was. It was chaos, okay? And when my mom was a mom, I don't remember her for a whole lot, and it could be trauma related, as they say. I only remember her from bits and pieces, like when she was on drugs, because our mother did do drugs. And like I said, she would leave, she would be in and out of prison. And I think at one point my father just had enough where he could no longer take it. And so he started talking to another woman who I call is my mama Judy. And she was kind of very pivotal in helping raise us. She never had any kids, but she would always like take really good care of us. Love you, Mama Judy. And I think the hardest part about that is I grew up with mommy wounds. And if you guys watched Dr. Brian's episode with B. Simone, that freaking episode touched me to my core because I realized in my trauma that I would use comedy as a form of people pleasing or trying to always check the temperature around you because everything used to be so stiff, or it would be so loud, people hollering or, being in trouble for little things. And you're just a child, being a child, those things still ring a bell. Like to this day, I cannot take someone hollering at me. It will literally send me back to when I was a child. And I think that's why I parent so differently. I am 10 times better than my mother. I am 10 times better than the people that were in my life. And I love that wholeheartedly because it has allowed me to break those generational curses, to not be like what I was in. And I think that is so hard for a lot of people. When you grow up in these environments that are chaotic and dysfunction, you often become it. You become what you grow up, like our role models, right? That people that are around you. And I know, I always say this, I know like I hate that how me and my older sister, when we were 12 and 13 and got put out, I know that it came with a lot of things, meaning other trauma, but it taught me that you, not it taught me, it helped me to understand to have someone who genuinely cared about you, right? So when my father got married, um, that was another dysfunctional environment where we had to navigate, right? And when me and my sister got put out by our stepmother, that we went to go move with her mother, our grandmother, right? And having my granny, it taught me, it was chaos. Don't get me wrong. I have some thoughts where I'm like, I wouldn't do this, right? But it also taught me to have someone that genuinely cared about me, had food on the table, gave me clothes, and not be in an environment that was chaotic. The moment I realized I really needed to change was when I got with my husband. When we first started dating, my husband is so pure, meaning he is the peace that I've always needed in my life of that chaos, right? Because when you grow up, and like I said, you think that chaos is regular, right? Dysfunction is a normal thing. But when you witness someone come from a different side of life, right, where he actually grew up in a two-parent household, he actually grew up with healthy boundaries and a loving mother and father who care about him, right? Care about his future, care about the things that you are destined to do in life. That really changes your brain chemistry. And in the beginning, I used to like lash out really bad because I just felt like I didn't know how to handle someone that was willing to compromise or communicate effectively, tell me things, because I think that's why my love language is not words of affirmation. Like, I don't need daily assurance because I've always had to be that person in my life where you had to be strong. You had to be the one to motivate yourself, right? So that's not my love language. But when you get someone to take the stress off of you, to do acts of service, that's my love language, to take the load off of me, because all my life I've had to pivot. I had to figure things out. It's such a beautiful experience when you finally get someone that sees you, hears you, especially when you're quiet. And so in the beginning, like I said, I would get so mad, honey, child, I would knock shit over. I was toxic. And I realized that if I did not change and talk to someone or like really get it together, I'm going to lose this good man. And I don't want to be like my mom, who lost my father, who was a good man to her. And witnessing my mom go through DV from one of her baby daddies, not my daddy, but one of her baby daddies, also taught me I know what I deserve from a man. And I think that's why when it comes to men, I've never tolerated bullcrap, because I had an active dad. And I felt like as I would heal and I would go to therapy, right, I realized that I've always had problems with friendships because I never had a mom show me how to be, basically, show you how to be a mother, how they are a mother to you. I never had a woman really say, I love you, or this and that, right? Until I got older. And I think that was the moment where I said, no more, because I didn't have kids at this time. And I'm like, I want to bring kids in this world. I want to be the best version of myself. And of course, life happens. I lost my father 6 months after I had my son. That changed me to the core. It changed my whole existence in my 20s. And then my son had open heart surgery literally right after my dad passed away. So it was just like one thing after the next. And I just kept saying to myself, what the F? Why do I deserve this hard life? What is happening? But you know what? being strong, you pivot, you pivot, you pivot, you pivot. Graduated college, got married, and then had my daughter. Almost lost her in labor, child. And then my granny dies. And then my mother dies a year after my granny. My biological mother dies a year after my granny. My whole 20s were just a shitstorm of trying to figure out who is Stephanie, going through what it felt like a midlife crisis and trying to continue to break these curses while raising children. And I think the pivotal part for me was realizing you're about to be 30. You can no longer take this baggage into your 30s. It's time to snap out of that. And healing those childhood wounds will be everything. And like I said, watching the Dr. Bryant episode with B. Simone helped me a little bit more too outside of therapy, because it allowed me to see myself. And I remember her saying, the young version of you wants to save you, but you have to tell her she's not wanted here anymore, because she wants you to feel safe. She wants you to feel protected, but she's not wanted in this grown adult world. And that's what I had to do. I had to tell little Steph, look, baby, I love you, but it's time to go. I got this now. Big girl, Steph got this now, right? And when you realize that, and you realize the patterns that you're doing and how you communicate, like one area I'm actually really proud of, like I said, is my parenting. I'm not what I went through, right? And I know I didn't really go into details about being put out, but that changed my brain chemistry too, of what it felt like, how it felt like my dad gave up on me, but I also know he was trying his best, right? And then moving in with my grandma, and then how I probably would have never met my husband, because once we moved in, I think it might have been like a couple months to a year, they ended up moving to South Carolina. So me and my sister stayed in Baltimore while they moved to South Carolina, and I finished out high school in my state, and that's when I got a great opportunity in high school, and I met my husband. So I always say that God aligns your steps, and he literally has his hands over your life, your existence. Even when you feel like, God, why me? Why am I going through all of this? Because that's what I used to say in my 20s. Like, why am I going through all this? Like, I just want things to finally flow. And then I think once you surrender and you realize, like, it's not happening to me, God just needs me to get through this storm so that way I can be a vessel to another person, because my story, my testimony can help someone out there. But I will say, because I don't want to drag it out, I just wanted to give a broad brief about my life and how celebrating me has always been hard, but I'm learning to do that. I love my life. I'm enjoying it. I hope that I'm around a long time for my kids, but I won't say it's not hard to not have parents to navigate adulthood, especially in 2025. But I can say I've been raising a child for almost 14 years. And that's an amazing journey that I am nothing like my, circumstances, my environments. And every day I choose peace. Every day I choose to become better and not allow what I've been through to determine my outlook on life, or to become a shitty person, or to become a nasty human being, because it can penetrate your whole life if you allow it to do that. And also know, breaking curses doesn't mean that you're perfect. You can fall back into things that trigger you. That's why it's important to continue to grow and continue to try over and over and over again until you get it right. Because at the end of the day, although you are the one in control. People will always have an opinion about things that you are doing, but half of them don't even know what you had to go through to become this version of yourself. And that's what I remind myself. I have come so far from the angry, hostile, young girl to be this beautiful woman who has a career, who has been married for 10 years, together 15, have 2 beautiful children, trying to find love in my hobbies again, overcoming depression, overcoming everything that life has grabbed me by, and not becoming that. Trying to become financially not stable, but like you know, breaking the habit of like, okay, well, doing this and doing that, making sure your money is making money for you and making good grown up decisions and not becoming hostile at the mouth. So if you're in the middle of your journey, I just want you to know you are strong enough to overcome anything thrown your way. Breaking generational curses is never easy because sometimes you never had a role model. I didn't have them either, but I knew what I did not want to become and people I did not want to become like. Doesn't mean you don't love them. It's just you don't want them to become the negative person that they were. But just know that life is waiting for you on the other side of this. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner that you realize that things can get better and that you don't become what you are so used to. Flowers. Beautiful flowers, okay? So in the comments, let me know what's one thing you are learning from or breaking, or things that you want to do in the future. Because let me tell you something, manifestation and speaking life into your goals and changing your sentences is pivotal, right? So stop saying I'm going and say I will. Start putting due dates, deadlines by these goals. That's why I want to share my 12-week year with you guys, the behind the scenes. It won't be pretty. I'm going to have days where I'm like, I don't want to do this. I didn't want to do this video today. But I said, you know what's that? Go on, put that little bit of makeup on, girl, that you know how to do. And let's start talking about real life stuff that can help people. Because I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. And that's something I would never portray. But guess what? When you are real, you are authentic, and authentically you, baby, the sky's the limit. I'm trying to tell you, stop trying to be someone that you're not. Because let me tell you something, the moment that you try to be someone that you're not going to be happy. Just be you. Whether it's what my daughter said, my daughter's favorite word is cringy, weird. Girl, if that's you, guess what? Go on and live your life. But until let's talk about it, I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.